I stood in the hotel lobby, my heart aching as I watched my own children walk away, their laughter echoing towards the elevators. Not a single backward glance. Monica, my daughter-in-law, had just made a comment about finally being unburdened, and they had all chuckled. They were unaware that I had overheard every word. They didn't know that every cent of that reservation had been paid for with money I'd meticulously saved for 8 months, selling my Sunday pies in the town square and stashing every coin in a cookie tin hidden behind the canned goods. They also had no idea what I was about to do. But let's rewind to the beginning because it all commenced 3 weeks prior, on a Tuesday afternoon when the sun cast a warm glow through my kitchen window. I was preparing my customary afternoon coffee, a ritual I'd maintained daily since becoming a widow 4 years earlier, when my phone rang. It was my eldest son, Raphael, his voice adopting that sweet tone he reserved for when he wanted something. "Mum, I've got a fantastic idea," he announced, and I felt that familiar flutter in my chest that always accompanied my children, including me, in their plans. "What do you think about us taking a family trip for the holidays? All together, like in the good old days." His voice vibrated with such enthusiasm that I could practically picture his smile through the telephone line. I set the coffee pot down, a wave of emotion blurring my vision. It had been so long since I'd felt included, since I'd received an invitation to anything beyond a standard family dinner, where I'd sit quietly while they discussed their careers, their travels, their ambitions. I was always the one serving, clearing plates, remaining in the kitchen while everyone else retired to the living room. "That sounds absolutely wonderful, son," I replied, striving to keep my voice steady. "When would this be?" "The first week of January, 7 days, Mum. Imagine all of us, me, Monica, Diego, and Anna, the grandkids, and you, of course, like one big happy family." He paused, then added, "There's just one tiny detail, Mum. The hotel requires a single person to handle the reservation. Could you possibly take care of that? We'll send you the money afterward." Of course, it was always like this. I was the one who put my name down, who provided the guarantee, who managed the administrative side while they reaped the enjoyment. But this time it didn't bother me. It was an opportunity to do something truly special for my family, to demonstrate the depth of my affection. "Of course, son, you can absolutely count on me." That very afternoon, I placed a call to the hotel. The receptionist possessed a voice that was both kind and professional. "Golden Palms Hotel, how may I assist you?" "I would like to make a reservation for 12 people," I stated, my heart beginning to race. I had never undertaken the organization of anything so significant before. "Perfect, ma'am. For what dates?" "From January 2nd to the 9th. I heard the distinct clicks of her keyboard. "All right, that would be 5 family suites, all inclusive, with access to all the amenities. The total would come to $4,200. I momentarily ceased to breathe. $4,200. My pension amounted to $800 a month. I had managed to save $800 over 8 months by selling pies. I didn't have enough. "Mom, are you still there?" Yes, I am. I'm so sorry. May I confirm the reservation and pay at a later time?" "We require a 50% deposit to confirm, Mum. That would be $2,100. I was unable to sleep that night. I sat in my rocking chair, endlessly calculating and recalculating. I had $50 in cash, some savings earmarked for emergencies, and my wedding ring, the ring my husband had presented to me 42 years prior, adorned with a small diamond that sparkled brilliantly when light struck it. The following day, I ventured to the downtown jewelry store. Mr. Jenkins, the proprietor, was an elderly gentleman who was familiar with my entire family. "Estella, how are you?" "I'm doing well, Mr. Jenkins. I've come to ask what you would offer me for this ring." He examined it with his loupe, turning it over and over between his aged, wrinkled fingers. "It's a lovely piece, Estella. I can offer you $800. I felt as though I had been physically struck. $800 for 42 years of marriage. But then I pictured Raphael's smile, the prospect of having my entire family together and happy. "It's a deal." With the proceeds from the ring and my meager savings, I called the hotel that same afternoon and submitted the deposit. The reservation was confirmed under my name, with my credit card serving as the guarantee. 5 family suites, 12 individuals, 7 days all inclusive. Over the subsequent weeks, each time I spoke with Raphael or Diego, they inquired about the trip's arrangements but never once mentioned the outstanding funds. "We'll discuss that a bit later," they would assure me. "The most important thing is that we're all together." I continued to sell pies on Sundays, took on sewing jobs for my neighbors, meticulously saving every single dollar I could to cover the final payment. My home grew noticeably colder as I reduced the thermostat. I ate less meat and opted to walk instead of taking the bus. All of this was in service of that perfect family getaway. 3 days before our scheduled departure, Raphael called me, his voice brimming with excitement. "Mom, you have no idea how much we're looking forward to these days. The children are absolutely thrilled. Monica has already packed everything. How are the hotel preparations coming along?" "Everything is ready, son. Just the final payment remains." "Oh yes, of course. Well, we'll sort that out when we get there. The main thing is that we have fun." The evening prior to our trip, I completed the full payment for the reservation using my credit card. $2,100, my wedding ring, all my savings, plus the outstanding balance on my card. But I believed it would be worth it. I was going to have 7 idyllic days with my family. I had no inkling of what I was about to discover. On the morning of our departure, I awoke before dawn. I had packed my suitcase the previous night, carefully folding each garment, selecting my finest dresses, the pearl necklace that had belonged to my mother, and my comfortable walking shoes for the beach. I felt like a child on Christmas Eve. It had been such a long time since I had something to anticipate with such fervent excitement. Raphael was scheduled to pick me up at 7 o'clock in the morning. We had planned to travel together in 2 vehicles to the hotel, which was a 3-hour drive away. I donned my light blue dress, the one Diego always said made me appear younger, and applied a touch of makeup with care. I wanted to present myself well for the inevitable family photographs. At 7:30, Raphael sounded his horn on the street. I gathered my suitcase, locked my front door, and walked to the car with an irrepressible smile gracing my face. In the passenger seat, Monica, my daughter-in-law, was engrossed in her phone. In the back, my 2 youngest grandchildren were occupied with a tablet. "Good morning, family," I greeted them as I entered the car, but only the children responded with a cheerful, "Hi, Grandma." Distractedly, Monica barely glanced up for a moment and mumbled something that sounded like a greeting. Raphael started the engine. "Are you all ready for a perfect family vacation?" I inquired, attempting to initiate a light-hearted conversation. "Yes, Mum," Raphael replied, though his voice sounded weary. "Monica, did you text Anna so they can follow us?" "They've already departed. Diego drives like a snail, so we'll likely arrive before them," Monica answered, her eyes still fixed on her phone. Throughout the drive, I made several attempts at conversation. I asked about Raphael's work, their plans for the hotel, and whether the children knew how to swim. The responses were monosyllabic, accompanied by fleeting smiles that vanished as quickly as they appeared. Monica continued to text, occasionally erupting into laughter at something she read on her screen. "Is it very amusing?" I ventured once, trying to engage with whatever held her attention. "It's my friend's group chat," she replied without looking at me. Things you wouldn't understand. I fell silent thereafter, gazing out the window at the passing fields, the modest houses, and the trees just beginning to change their hues. I contemplated all the pies I had sold to finance this trip, the nights I had spent sewing late into the night to earn a few extra dollars, my wedding ring, which was now secured in a jewelry store vault. Upon our arrival at the hotel, my breath hitched. It was even more breathtaking than I had envisioned from the online photographs. Tall palm trees swayed gently in the ocean breeze. The gardens were impeccably maintained, bursting with flowers of every conceivable colour. The building's white facade gleamed under the midday sun. The entrance featured soothing water fountains, and I could hear the distant murmur of the ocean. "What a stunning place!" I exclaimed, my chest swelling with pure happiness. "I can hardly believe we're here." The children eagerly exited the car and dashed towards the entrance. Raphael and Monica began unloading the suitcases from the trunk. At that precise moment, the second car arrived, carrying Diego, Anna, and the remainder of the family. My 17-year-old granddaughter, Mariana, was the only one who rushed to embrace me. "Grandma, this place is absolutely incredible," she declared, her eyes alight with excitement. "Did you see the pool? It's enormous, and they say they have nightly activities and themed restaurants." "I know, dear, it's going to be a marvelous week," I responded, stroking her hair. At least someone shared my elation. We all proceeded into the lobby, and I made my way towards the reception desk. It was a spacious and opulent area with marble floors that reflected the light from crystal chandeliers, plush white leather sofas, and vibrant tropical plants, housed in immense pots. The air was perfumed with the scent of fresh blossoms and the salty ocean breeze. "Good morning," I greeted the receptionist, a young woman with a warm smile. "I have a reservation under the name Estella Williams." She typed into her computer and smiled. "Of course, Mrs. Williams. We were expecting you. 5 family suites, 7 nights, all inclusive for 12 people. Everything is in order." As she prepared the keys and outlined the hotel's services, I overheard my sons conversing quietly behind me. "5 suites," I caught Diego whispering to Raphael. "I thought you said it would be simpler." "Mum organized everything," Raphael responded. "We'll figure out how to split the costs later." The receptionist handed me the keys, each attached to an elegant keychain shaped like a palm tree. "The suites are located on the 3rd floor, all with an ocean view. Breakfast is served from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock in the morning in the main restaurant. Lunch is from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and dinner is from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock in the evening. You also have full access to the spa, the swimming pools, sports activities, and the nightly entertainment." "How marvelous!" I exclaimed, my heart pounding with anticipation. "Did you hear that, children? We have access to everything." But when I turned around to share my elation with the family, I froze. No one was there. Raphael, Diego, Monica, Anna, and all the grandchildren had vanished. Only Mariana remained, observing me with a peculiar expression. "Where did everyone go?" I inquired, a sinking feeling in my stomach. "They went to the elevators," she replied, biting her lower lip. "Dad said they were going to settle into the rooms and that we would meet up later." Without waiting for me, without the keys, Mariana didn't respond, but I could discern in her eyes that she was withholding something. We walked to the elevator area, but there was no sign of the family. We ascended to the 3rd floor and proceeded down the corridor, searching for them, but it was as if they had simply evaporated. "Mariana, what is happening here?" I asked, my voice trembling. She sighed and retrieved her phone. "Grandma, there's something you need to know. They're in the family group chat." She hesitated as if finding it difficult to continue. "What group chat?" The one Dad, Uncle Raphael, Mum, and Aunt Monica created. It's called Drama-Free Vacation. Her voice softened. Grandma, they didn't want you to come on the trip. I felt as though the marble floor beneath my feet was giving way. What do you mean they didn't want me to come? But Raphael invited me. He asked me to organize everything. Mariana, with trembling hands, showed me her phone. On the screen, I could see the group chat. The most recent messages contained words that shattered my heart into countless pieces. We've arrived. The old lady took care of everything, as usual. Perfect. Now we can finally enjoy ourselves without her constantly hovering. Did you see how excited she was at reception? How embarrassing. Well, at least she's good for something. Let her stay in her room watching TV while we take advantage of everything. The words swam before my eyes. I felt tears welling up, my throat constricting. $2,100, my wedding ring, 8 months of arduous labor. Also, they could enjoy themselves without drama, without me. Grandma, Mariana's voice sounded distant. Grandma, are you all right? No, I was not all right, but I was not defeated either. I stood there in the hotel hallway, the 5 keys dangling from my quivering fingers, while Mariana watched me with tear-filled eyes. The messages from the group chat continued to appear on her phone, each one a fresh stab to my heart. I hope she doesn't start insisting on family dinners. Don't worry, Monica. If she becomes too bothersome, we'll just tell her she looks tired and should go rest. The most important thing is that the children have fun. She can do her own thing. I closed my eyes and took a deep, fortifying breath. The hallway exuded an aroma of cleanliness and fresh flowers, but all I could taste was the acrid bitterness of humiliation. For 40 years I had nurtured those children. I had relinquished my own aspirations for theirs. I had sold my wedding ring to afford them this perfect vacation, and this was their repayment. Mariana, I said, my voice sounding unfamiliar even to myself. How long has that group chat been in existence? She glanced at her phone, scrolling upwards to view older messages. Since Uncle Raphael suggested the trip, Grandma. Look here, it says he created it the very same day he called you. My granddaughter displayed the screen. There it was, stark and undeniable. Group created on December 12th by Raphael Carter. The very day my son had called me with his sweet voice, inviting me on the family trip of my dreams. I continued to read the earlier messages, each one more devastating than the last. I've already spoken with Mum. She bought the whole story. She's certain she'll be able to handle the arrangements. You know how she is with technology. It doesn't really matter. If she makes a mistake, we'll fix it. The important thing is that she pays. Excellent. A free vacation with no family drama. Just to be clear, no group activities, everyone for themselves. The words blurred, rendered indistinct by the tears I could no longer hold back. But there was more recent messages that illuminated the full extent of their betrayal. Did you confirm that the hotel permits changes to the reservation? Yes, Diego asked at reception. Since it's under Mum's name, she can make changes. Perfect. Tomorrow we'll convince her to transfer the rooms to our names just in case. And on the last day, we'll tell her there was a billing error and that the hotel requires someone else to handle the payment. There it was. Not only had they conspired to exclude me during the trip, but they also intended to leave me with the entire bill at its conclusion. They had exploited me to organize and fund their ideal holiday, and then planned to abandon me with the debt. Grandma, Mariana gently touched my arm. What are you going to do? That question reverberated in my mind. What was I going to do? The Estella of yesteryear would have wept in silent despair, swallowed the humiliation, and pretended she had seen nothing. She would have spent the 7 days confined to her room, ordering room service to avoid disturbing the family in the dining areas, watching television while they revelled in the pool, the spa, and the nightly entertainment that I had financed. But something within me had fundamentally shifted. Perhaps it was witnessing my wedding ring vanish into the jeweler's hands. Or perhaps it was those 8 months of waking before dawn to bake pies and sell them in the town square. Maybe it was the stark realization that my own children viewed me as a mere walking ATM, useful for financial transactions and logistical arrangements, but a bothersome presence to actually include. "I don't know yet, dear," I responded to Mariana, wiping my tears with the back of my hand. "But I am not going to stand here and cry." We walked to my suite. It was exquisite, featuring a king-sized bed adorned with pristine white linens, a balcony offering a direct ocean vista, and a marble bathroom with a deep soaking tub. Everything I had envisioned for months while meticulously saving every last cent. Yet it now felt hollow, like a meticulously crafted stage, set for a play where I was merely the financier, not the principal performer. I sank onto the bed, and Mariana stood by the window, gazing out at the beach where I could already discern some family members. Raphael and Diego were in the pool with their children. Monica and Anna were enjoying cocktails under a large umbrella. They were all laughing, seemingly oblivious to anything untoward. "Do you know what hurts the most?" I said to Mariana. "It's not the money or even the fact that they deceived me. It's that I truly believed we were finally going to be a genuine family, that we were going to forge beautiful memories together." Mariana turned and I saw that her eyes were red. "Grandma, I tried to tell them it was wrong. When Dad added me to the group, I told them it wasn't fair to you, but they said I didn't understand that sometimes adults have to make difficult decisions." Difficult decisions? That's what I represented to them, a difficult decision. At that very moment, my phone chimed with an incoming message. It was from Raphael. "Mum, we've settled in. We're going to have lunch at the beach restaurant. If you'd prefer, you can order room service. See you at dinner." Liars. I knew with absolute certainty they had planned to dine without me. But this time, instead of feeling hurt, a smile touched my lips. "Tell your dad thank you very much, but I have other plans." And I wasn't fabricating. I did indeed have other plans. Plans that were rapidly coalescing in my mind with a startling clarity. That afternoon, while my family reveled on the beach with the funds I had provided, I was actively engaged in making some rather critical telephone calls. My first destination, my bank. My second, the hotel reception. My third, my legal counsel. Because if my children believed they could engage in games with me, they were profoundly mistaken. The game had merely commenced, and this time I held all the cards. That afternoon, while my family indulged on the beach, under the deluded impression that they had discovered the ultimate formula for a cost-free vacation, I was in my room diligently executing my own strategy. I had learned over 65 years that patience is a woman's most formidable weapon, particularly when she is consistently underestimated. My initial call was to the bank. After navigating a labyrinth of automated prompts and enduring a 20-minute hold, I finally connected with a human representative. "National Bank, this is Carmen speaking. How may I assist you?" "Good morning, Carmen. My name is Estella Williams. I need to report a potential fraud attempt on my credit card." "Of course, Mrs. Williams. Could you please provide me with your card number and date of birth to verify your identity?" After confirming my details, I proceeded to explain the situation, choosing my words with extreme precision. "Carmen, I have reason to believe that a family member is planning to dispute legitimate charges that I have incurred on my card, specifically a hotel reservation totaling $4,200 that I personally authorized and paid for." "I understand your concern, Mrs. Williams. Do you have any evidence of this potential fraudulent dispute? Yes, I have all the reservation documents, payment confirmations, and witnesses who can attest that I authorized all expenses. Furthermore, my granddaughter overheard my son discussing disputing these charges on the phone today. Carmen diligently noted everything and outlined the protocol. I'm going to place a protective note on your account, Mrs. Williams. If anyone attempts to dispute these charges, an automatic investigation will be initiated, which will necessitate substantial evidence of actual fraud. In the interim, the charges will remain valid until proven otherwise. I will also email you a form to meticulously document all details pertaining to this potential family fraud attempt. After concluding my conversation with the bank, I felt as though I had emerged victorious in the initial skirmish of a war that had just begun, but I required further ammunition. My second call was to the hotel reception. May I speak with the manager, please? Approximately 5 minutes passed before a gentleman with a pleasant demeanor approached. Mrs. Williams, I'm Miguel Anderson, the hotel manager. The front desk informed me you wished to see me. Yes, Mr. Anderson. I'm dealing with a rather sensitive family matter, and I need to ensure certain details are officially documented. I then explained that I had prepaid for the entire reservation as a surprise for my relatives, but had recently learned they intended to contest the charges deceitfully. I understand completely, Mrs. Williams. Unfortunately, we encounter these sorts of familial disputes occasionally. What course of action would you prefer we take? Firstly, I require written confirmation that I am the sole proprietor of this reservation and that all payments were made by me voluntarily. Secondly, should any member of my family attempt to alter arrangements in my absence, I expect to be notified immediately. Certainly, ma'am. I will issue an official correspondence detailing your reservation specifics and payment confirmation. Furthermore, I will brief all our front desk personnel regarding this situation. One further request, Mr. Anderson. Would it be feasible to arrange a meeting for tomorrow morning? I believe I may need to make some adjustments to the booking. Of course. Would 9 a.m. be convenient for you? That's perfect. My third telephone call was the most crucial. I located the contact information for Mr. Jenkins, the legal counsel who had assisted my late husband with his will and had managed minor family affairs over the years. Jenkins and Associates, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Is Mr. Jenkins available? This is Estella Williams. Mrs. Williams, it's a pleasure to hear from you. Mr. Jenkins is currently with another client, but I can certainly interrupt him if the matter is urgent. It is urgent. 3 minutes later, Mr. Jenkins' familiar voice came through the line. Estella, how are you? Is everything all right? No, Mr. Jenkins, nothing is all right. I require immediate legal counsel. I recounted the entire situation to him, the trip, the messages from the group chat, their scheme to dispute the charges, and every detail. Mr. Jenkins listened attentively, interjecting occasional sounds of concern. Estella, this is a grave situation. What your children are contemplating constitutes financial fraud and elder abuse. Elder abuse? Indeed. Employing deception to extract financial gains from an elderly individual is a federal offense. Moreover, challenging legitimate charges amounts to bank fraud. What steps can I take? There are several options. Firstly, it's fortunate that you have already contacted the bank. Secondly, I will be sending you a document via email that I need you to sign and have notarized. This will serve as a sworn affidavit confirming that you willingly financed all the trip's expenses. Is there a notary available at the hotel? Most sizable hotels offer notary services for their guests. I suggest you inquire with the manager. What else can I do? Estella, I must ask you something significant. Do you wish to pursue legal action against your children? The question struck me with the force of a physical blow. Legal action against Raphael and Diego, the children I had raised, nursed when they were ill, and for whom I had made countless sacrifices. I don't know, Mr. Jenkins. I simply want them to cease this behavior. I understand. However, I want you to be aware that you have options. You can file a lawsuit against them for fraud. You can amend your will. You can take measures to safeguard your assets. Please give it considerable thought. After concluding my call with Mr. Jenkins, I sat in silence for several minutes. The sun was beginning its descent, casting a warm, golden hue across my room. I could faintly hear the cheerful voices of my family returning from their beach outing, their laughter and discussions about evening plans drifting up. At 6:30 there was a knock at my door. It was Raphael. "Hey Mom, how was your afternoon?" "Very productive, son." "Productive? What did you do?" "Important calls, some paperwork, just adult responsibilities." I noticed his smile falter slightly. "Mum, speaking of paperwork, Diego and I were thinking it might be simpler if we managed some of the hotel arrangements, to relieve you of any worries." There it was, the initial overt move in their orchestrated plan. "What sort of arrangements?" "Well, the room keys for the other suites. For instance, just in case of an emergency requiring access." "What kind of emergency would necessitate your access to rooms not assigned to you?" Raphael appeared taken aback by my direct inquiry. "I don't know, Mom. We just thought it would be more practical." "Raphael," I stated, maintaining the calmest tone I could muster, "I am 65 years old, not 95. I am perfectly capable of managing room keys." "Of course, Mom. I didn't mean to imply you couldn't. I just thought that—" "You thought what, precisely?" I watched him grow visibly uneasy, searching for the appropriate words to subtly manipulate the situation without appearing too obvious. "Nothing, Mum. Please forget I mentioned it. Are you joining us for dinner?" "Of course, it is my funds that are covering that dinner, is it not?" The question visibly surprised him. "Your funds? Whose else would it be, Raphael?" "No, of course, you are absolutely right. We will settle everything at the conclusion of the trip, as we discussed." "When exactly did we discuss that? Did we ever reach an agreement that this would be a joint financial undertaking?" "Mum, I don't comprehend why you're posing these inquiries." I rose and walked toward the door. "Let's proceed to dinner, son. I'm quite hungry." As we made our way to the elevator, I could sense his bewilderment. His plan relied on my predictability, my manageability, my acting as I always had. But I was no longer the same woman who had arrived at this hotel 2 days prior. During dinner, I observed my family with a newfound perspective. I noticed how each of them savored the meals I had paid for, the costly beverages they ordered without a moment's hesitation, the multiple desserts they procured on a whim. I witnessed them discussing their plans for the following day as if I were not present, as if my attendance were optional. But I also perceived something else. I saw Mariana observing me with concerned eyes, sensing the shift that had occurred within me. I observed my younger grandchildren genuinely enjoying the experience, blissfully unaware of the adult's duplicity. And in that moment I realized something significant. Not everyone at that table had betrayed me. That evening, after everyone had retired to their respective rooms, Mariana came to visit me as we had arranged. "Grandma, what is happening? Dad seemed really strange during dinner." "He seemed strange because his plan is not unfolding as he anticipated." I informed her about my phone calls that day, the precautions I had taken for my own protection, and the meeting I had scheduled with the hotel manager for the following morning. "Are you going to cancel the trip?" she inquired, her eyes wide. "No, dear. I'm going to do something far more effective." "What?" I smiled. For the first time in days, it was a genuine smile, not a forced one. "I'm going to give them precisely what they deserve." At 5 o'clock in the morning, I was already awake. not due to an alarm, but because my body had developed the habit of early rising during the months I had spent selling pies. However, this time, instead of feeling the familiar burden of exhaustion and obligation, I felt a peculiar sense of vitality I hadn't experienced in years. Today was the day everything would change. I took a leisurely shower, donned my most distinguished attire, the navy blue suit I had purchased for my husband's funeral, but had never had an occasion to wear for a significant event, and descended to the restaurant. It was 6:30, and the establishment was nearly deserted. Perfect. I required tranquility to review my notes one last time. As I sipped my coffee and perused the documents Mr. Jenkins had emailed me earlier that morning, I observed Miguel Anderson, the hotel manager, enter the room. He was a gentleman in his early 40s, elegantly dressed, possessing that warm professionalism, characteristic of individuals who genuinely understand service. "Mrs. Williams, good morning. Did you sleep well?" "Very well, thank you. Could we perhaps advance our meeting? There are a few matters I wish to discuss before my family awakens." "Certainly. Would you prefer to convene in my office?" "Yes, that would be ideal." His office was both elegant and comfortable, offering a view of the hotel gardens. Diplomas adorned the walls, alongside photographs of memorable events, and a coffee maker, from which he immediately offered me a cup. "Mrs. Williams, last night I reviewed your situation with our legal team. We are committed to ensuring we fully comprehend the circumstances." "Your legal team?" "Indeed. Situations such as yours, while regrettably not uncommon, necessitate that we adhere to specific protocols to safeguard both the guest and the establishment." Miguel opened a file on his desk. "Allow me to confirm, you financed the complete reservation, totaling $4,200, using your own credit card, without any duress, as a surprise for your family. Is this accurate?" "Entirely accurate." "And you possess evidence suggesting certain family members intend to contest these charges fraudulently?" "Yes, my granddaughter overheard my son coordinating with the bank." "I see. I have 2 documents here that I would like you to examine." The first document was an official declaration from the hotel, affirming all particulars of my reservation and payment. The second proved more compelling, an amendment to the existing contract that granted me exclusive authority over every aspect of our stay. "What precisely does this signify?" I inquired, gesturing towards the second document. "It signifies that you, as the individual who financed the arrangement and the holder of the reservation, possess absolute control. You have the discretion to determine who remains and who departs. You can modify services and even revoke specific room bookings if you so choose." I felt my heart quicken. "I can revoke specific room bookings?" "Absolutely. There are 5 suites reserved under your name. You may retain all 5, or you may cancel 1, 2, 3, or even all 4 of them as you deem appropriate." "And the occupants of those rooms would be required to secure alternative accommodations or vacate the premises?" The idea began to crystallize in my mind with striking clarity. "Miguel, what is the standard checkout time?" "Typically at 12 noon, but we can exercise flexibility depending on the circumstances." "And if an individual needs to depart prior to that time, is that also permissible?" "Yes." "Are you contemplating making adjustments to the reservation?" I paused for a moment, gazing out the window at the gardens where the groundskeepers had already commenced their work. It was early, yet the day promised to be beautiful, sunny and perfect for a beach excursion. The kind of day my family had planned to enjoy entirely at my expense. "Miguel, I wish to implement some modifications, but I require them to be executed precisely as I will outline." "Certainly, I am all ears." "I wish to cancel 4 of the 5 suites." Miguel's eyebrows rose slightly, yet he maintained his professional demeanor. "Which ones specifically?" I retrieved my notebook on which I had meticulously recorded the suite numbers. Suites 301, 302, 304, and 305. I wish to retain only suite 303, which is my own. Understood. And at what juncture would you like these cancellations to take effect? Today, but not immediately. Firstly, I require you to disable access to those rooms at 10 o'clock a.m. Their key cards will cease to function. Subsequently, at 11 o'clock a.m., I wish for hotel personnel to visit those suites to inform the occupants that they must vacate the rooms before noon due to alterations in the reservation. Miguel diligently took notes as I spoke, offering no judgment and maintaining complete professionalism. Are there any particular directives I should impart to the staff? Yes, they should convey that the reservation holder, myself, has opted to revise the terms of the stay, that it is not a fault of the hotel, but a personal decision made by the individual who financed the reservation. And should they inquire about my whereabouts to speak with me, you may inform them that I am accessible in suite 303, but only if they approach with civility. If there are any raised voices, threats, or disrespect directed towards the hotel staff, you are authorized to contact security. Miguel finished his notations and looked at me with a mixture of admiration and curiosity. Mrs. Williams, may I inquire as to what prompted this decision? Miguel, do you have a family? Yes, a wife and 2 young children. Do you love them? Of course. Would you do anything for them? Without a doubt. And what if they betrayed you? What if you discovered they were exploiting you, that they were ashamed of you, that they planned to swindle you? Miguel remained silent for a moment. I believe I understand. For 40 years I raised my children, I provided for them, clothed them, and cared for them when they were unwell. I labored to afford them an education. I sacrificed my aspirations for theirs. And now, when I believed we could finally share some quality family time, I discover that they perceive me as a convenient nuisance for covering expenses. I am profoundly sorry, Mrs. Williams. Do not apologize, Miguel. This is not sorrow, it is liberation. I signed all the requisite documents, including the sworn affidavit prepared by Mr. Jenkins. Miguel summoned a notary from the hotel, who arrived within 10 minutes to formalize everything. One final request, I said to Miguel as we concluded. Could you please arrange for a taxi to be ready at 12:30? For how many individuals? Just 2. My granddaughter Mariana and myself. Are you traveling to the airport? No, we are proceeding to a different hotel, one where we can truly enjoy a vacation. Miguel smiled for the first time during our meeting. It will be my pleasure to assist you with that as well. Upon returning to my suite, it was 8:30. My family was undoubtedly awake, formulating plans for another idyllic day without my involvement. But this time, circumstances would be different. I settled onto the balcony with a freshly brewed cup of coffee, ordered from room service, and waited. At 9 o'clock, I would receive the initial message from Mariana, containing the exchanges from the private group chat. At 10 o'clock, their key cards would cease to function. At 11 o'clock, hotel personnel would knock on their doors, and for the first time in my life, I would be in complete command. My phone vibrated. It was a message from Raphael. Mum, we're heading to breakfast. Are you joining us? I replied, No, thank you. I have other plans for today. What plans? You will see, son. You will see. I glanced at my watch. It was 9:55. In 5 minutes, the countdown would commence, the moment my family would realize they had gravely underestimated the woman who had brought them into existence. And honestly, I eagerly anticipated witnessing their reactions. At precisely 10 o'clock, my phone vibrated with the first message from Mariana. It was a screenshot of the secret group chat, sent only moments earlier. Perfect plan for today. Beach all morning, spa in the afternoon. The old lady will surely remain in her room like yesterday. Excellent. After lunch, we will approach reception to secure control of the other suites. Did you confirm with the bank, Diego? Yes, the dispute process should be initiated this afternoon. By tomorrow, we will no longer have to concern ourselves with the expenses. Each message served as further confirmation that I had made the correct decision. There was no hesitation, no remorse, no room for regret. They had chosen this path. At 10:30, another message arrived from Mariana. Grandma, they are all at the pool. Dad just mentioned that after lunch, he's going to reception to sort out the rooms. I also overheard Aunt Monica remark that today is the final day they must feign that everything is acceptable. The last day they needed to pretend that being with me was an unbearable charade that was finally drawing to a close. I poured myself another cup of coffee and settled comfortably into the armchair by the balcony. From my vantage point, I could observe the pool area where my family was enjoying themselves. Raphael and Diego were in the water with some of the grandchildren. Monica and Anna were sipping cocktails beneath an umbrella, all of them laughing, relaxed, and content, making the most of the vacation I had financed while they plotted my downfall. At 10:55, my phone rang. It was Miguel. Mrs. Williams, the system is prepared. In 2 minutes, the key cards for suites 301, 302, 304, and 305 will be deactivated. Perfect. Miguel, is your staff prepared for what is about to occur? Completely. We have the security team on standby, and we have already briefed the housekeeping staff on how to handle the situation with both diplomacy and firmness. Excellent. I shall see you in 1 hour. I checked my watch. 9:58, 9:59, 10 o'clock. At that precise moment, my family's key cards had become nothing more than useless pieces of plastic. They would be unable to access their rooms, retrieve their belongings, change their attire, or even shower after their swim. I waited. It did not take long. At 10:07, I observed Anna rise from her chair by the pool and proceed towards the elevators. She was likely going to retrieve something from her room. At 10:11, my phone vibrated with an urgent message from Mariana. Grandma, Mum is arguing with reception. She claims her keycard isn't functioning. 3 minutes later, another message arrived. They are all there now. Dad is extremely agitated. The receptionist is explaining something to them, but I can't hear clearly from here. At 10:20, Raphael called me. His voice was strained, controlled, yet I could discern the undercurrent of panic. Mum, there appears to be an issue with the rooms. The key cards are not operational. Would you be able to come downstairs to reception to assist us in resolving this? What sort of issue? We are unsure. The receptionist asserts there has been a modification to the reservation, but that is impossible as no one has altered anything. How peculiar! I responded with the most innocent tone I could manage. Are you quite certain you haven't made any changes? Certainly not, Mum. Could you please come? We need to rectify this promptly as the children wish to return to their rooms. I am somewhat occupied at the moment, son, but do not be concerned. I am confident it will be resolved shortly. Occupied with what? Important matters. I terminated the call before he could respond. At 10:45, Mariana sent me another message. Grandma, the hotel manager is speaking with Dad and Uncle Raphael. They appear quite worried. Aunt Monica is engaged in a dispute with a receptionist. At 10:58, my phone rang again. This time it was Diego. Mom, we require you to come to reception immediately. There has been a significant misunderstanding, and only you can rectify it. What kind of misunderstanding? The hotel is stating that you have cancelled our rooms. That is quite absurd, is it not? Inform them it is a mistake. Why would it be absurd, Diego? Because there is no reason for you to cancel our rooms. There isn't. A prolonged silence ensued on the other end of the line. Mum, what is occurring? I am certain Miguel has explained it to you quite clearly. Miguel, you know the manager. Of course, we had a very productive meeting this morning. Another silence. When Diego spoke again, his voice had undergone a complete transformation. Mum, you cancelled our rooms. Yes. Why? Because I can. And I ended the call. At precisely 11 o'clock, from my balcony, I observed hotel staff approaching the pool area. There were 3 of them: Miguel, a woman who appeared to be from guest services, and a plainclothes security guard. I watched as they approached my family. I saw Miguel conversing with Raphael, gesturing towards the hotel. I witnessed the expressions of shock, bewilderment, and then anger on the faces of my children and daughters-in-law. I saw how the grandchildren, not comprehending the situation, gravitated towards their parents seeking explanations. At 11:05, there was a forceful knock at my door. It was not the polite rap of a social call. It was insistent, urgent, and desperate. I opened the door, and there they stood. All 4 of them, Raphael, Diego, Monica, and Anna. Their faces were a mosaic of emotions: fury, confusion, panic, and disbelief. Behind them in the hallway, I could discern some of my grandchildren waiting, their beach bags still in hand. Can you explain what in the devil is going on? Monica demanded before I could utter a word. Good morning to you as well, I replied calmly, stepping aside to allow them entry. Do not adopt that tone with me, Estella, Monica continued. The hotel claims you cancelled our rooms. It's preposterous. Why is it preposterous? Because we are your family. That is what I believed. Raphael stepped forward, attempting to employ his most conciliatory tone. Mum, there is evidently a misunderstanding. Let us proceed downstairs to reception and clear this all up. There is no misunderstanding, Raphael. I have cancelled your rooms because you are no longer welcome on my trip. Your trip? Anna looked genuinely perplexed. I believed this was a family trip. I thought so too until I discovered that you do not consider me family. Diego frowned. What are you referring to? I retrieved my phone and displayed the screenshots of the secret group chat that Mariana had forwarded to me. I watched their faces fall as they read their own messages. Raphael struggled to find the right words. This is not what it appears to be, he insisted. It's not. Then enlighten me, Raphael, his mother countered, her voice sharp. What exactly does a complimentary getaway with no family conflict entail? A profound silence descended upon the room. The 4 of them exchanged glances, each searching for a plausible explanation, a convenient excuse, any escape from the predicament they had created. Mum, Diego finally broke the quiet. I understand you're displeased, but you can't strand us without accommodations. We have young children. The very same children, his mother retorted, her gaze unwavering. You intended to keep from me by hiring a caregiver. That was your plan, wasn't it? She then turned her attention to Diego. And what about the credit card company, Diego? Have you initiated that charge dispute yet? Diego's face drained of all color. How? How could you possibly know? I am privy to everything, she stated, her voice resonating with certainty. I'm aware of the private group conversation. I know about your scheme to usurp control of this booking from me, and I'm privy to the fraudulent chargeback you were plotting with the bank. I know it all. Monica sank into an armchair, burying her face in her hands. Anna looked as though she was about to retch. Raphael and Diego remained rooted to the spot, resembling children caught pilfering sweets. So, she began, her voice possessing a peculiar, almost unnerving calm. Here are your choices. She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. You can gather your belongings, which the hotel staff has already so graciously packed. You can summon a taxi and find alternative lodgings, where you can finance your own holiday." "Or what?" Raphael stammered, his voice quivering. "Oh, nothing," she replied smoothly. "That is your sole recourse." "You cannot do this," Monica exclaimed, rising from the armchair. "We are your family. You cannot abandon us." She met the gaze of the woman who, for years, had feigned smiles at her counsel, had maligned her behind her back, and had poisoned her son's affections. "Monica," she stated, her composure astonishing even herself, "who abandoned whom first?" In that instant she saw a flicker of recognition in Monica's eyes, a tacit acknowledgement of the truth in her words. The conflict had concluded before it had truly begun. The subsequent silence was devastating. She could discern the hum of the air conditioner, the distant murmur of other guests in the corridor, the gentle lapping of waves against the shore. Yet within the confines of her room, the quiet was so palpable it seemed to possess a physical presence. Raphael was the first to attempt a recovery. "Mum, this is irrational. You can't possibly be serious." "Do I appear to be jesting?" she asked. But the children," he pleaded. "What will the grandchildren think?" For the first time since this confrontation had erupted, a pang of emotion tightened in her chest. Her grandchildren, the sole vestiges of innocence amidst this profound betrayal. "The grandchildren," she declared, "will come to understand that their parents made profoundly unwise decisions, and now they must bear the ramifications." "You are tearing this family apart," Anna sobbed, tears streaming down her face. "No, Anna," she corrected gently. "This family unraveled itself the moment you decided I was an impediment rather than a valued member." Diego approached, his hands extended in a gesture of supplication. "Mum, please, we recognize our errors, but we can rectify them. We can have a conversation." "You wish to converse now, after months of orchestrating this deception?" "It wasn't months," Raphael murmured. "No," she stated, her voice firm. "The group chat was established on the very same day you extended the invitation for this trip. Raphael, the very same day." She observed him deflate internally. All avenues of denial had been definitively closed. "Very well," Monica conceded, rising with an undisguised expression of fury. "You desire to play the martyr? You crave your dramatic moment? Fine, but do not anticipate us rushing back when you find yourself lonely." Her words were intended to inflict pain, to provoke reconsideration, to exploit the residual fear of solitude that had long resided within her. "Monica," she said, walking towards the door and opening it, "I would sooner embrace solitude than be in the company of those who harbor contempt for me." "We do not despise you," Diego protested vehemently. "No?" she challenged. "Then explain to me what it signifies to discard a burden and the final day we are compelled to feign contentment." Diego opened his mouth to respond, but no sound emerged. At that precise moment, Mariana appeared in the doorway. She had been awaiting them in the hallway with the other grandchildren, and her distress was evident. "What is happening?" she inquired softly. "The children do not comprehend why we must depart." A fresh ache resonated in her heart. This young woman, her granddaughter, who had revealed the incriminating messages and had been her confidant in this discovery, would now also have to leave. "Mariana," she murmured gently, beckoning her closer. She took her granddaughter's hands. "Sweetheart, your parents and I have irreconcilable differences. They are compelled to vacate the hotel." "But why, Grandma?" Diego's voice cracked as he finally addressed his daughter. "Your father made some very significant misjudgments." Mariana turned her gaze from her father to her grandmother. In her eyes, a profound understanding bloomed, far exceeding her 17 years. "Does this have something to do with the group chat?" A collective gasp filled the air. Anna whirled to face her daughter, her expression one of pure panic. What do you know about that? I know everything, Mum, Mariana declared. I know what you've been saying about Grandma. I know you never wanted her to join us on this trip. I know you only involved her so she would cover all the expenses. The ensuing silence was different. It was no longer charged with apprehension and denial. It was heavy with the crushing weight of shame and recognition. Mariana, Anna began, attempting to explain, things are not that simple. Yes, they are, Mariana asserted. She withdrew her hands from her grandmother's and turned to face her parents. So it isn't true that you created a group chat without Grandma to mock her? It isn't true that you planned to dispute the bank charges so you wouldn't have to pay for anything? It isn't true that you hired a nanny so we wouldn't have to spend time with her? Each question landed like a physical blow. She watched her children and their spouses physically diminish under the barrage of words from a teenager who had seen through their deceit. You've hurt the only person who has always been there for us, Mariana continued, tears welling in her eyes, yet her voice remained firm. Grandma sold her wedding ring to fund this trip. Did you know she sold Grandpa's ring? Raphael slumped into a chair as if his legs had suddenly lost their strength. You sold your ring? Diego looked utterly ill. We were unaware, Raphael admitted. Because you never bothered to ask, she stated. You simply presumed I possessed an inexhaustible supply of funds for your every whim. Monica, who had remained silent throughout Mariana's revelation, finally spoke. Fine, we will depart, but this is far from over. Is that a threat? She inquired. It's a promise. You cannot treat your family in this manner and expect there to be no repercussions. Monica, she said, approaching her until they were face to face, I did not mistreat my family. My family mistreated me. What is unfolding now is the direct consequence of your actions, not mine. Raphael rose from the chair. Mom, please, can we mend this? Can we what, Raphael? She challenged. Erase the messages you composed? Cancel the fraudulent chargeback you initiated? Restore the respect you stripped from me? We can apologize. Are you apologizing because you were exposed, or do you genuinely regret your actions? Raphael remained silent, unable to provide an answer. Precisely. At that moment, Miguel gently tapped on the open doorway. Apologies for the intrusion, Mrs. Williams. The taxi is prepared for the family. He glanced towards her children. Your possessions have been conveyed to the lobby. The hotel can assist with securing alternative accommodations should you require it. Thank you, Miguel. Taxi? Anna inquired, her voice laced with disbelief. Are you departing as well? Yes, she confirmed. Mariana and I are relocating to another establishment where we can genuinely savor the vacation I deserve. Mariana is accompanying you? Diego expressed his genuine astonishment. She met her granddaughter's gaze, who responded with a resolute nod. Mariana is the sole individual in this family who treated me with unwavering respect and honesty. She is the only one who merits sharing this vacation with me. You cannot take our daughter, Anna shrieked. I'm not taking her, she clarified. She is choosing to accompany me, Mariana. Diego addressed his daughter directly. You cannot do this. We are your family. And Grandma is also our family, Mariana stated, her gaze on her father a mixture of affection and profound disappointment. And you betrayed her. I cannot be a part of that. It is merely for a few days, she added. After that, she may decide whether she wishes to return to you or not. This is kidnapping, Monica muttered. No, she stated firmly, this is justice. Raphael approached her one final time. Mum, if we leave under these circumstances, things will never be the same between us. Raphael, she placed a hand on his shoulder, and for a fleeting moment she saw the little boy he had once been, before he became the man who had chosen to betray her. Things were already never the same, You insured that. She retrieved her suitcase, which she had packed that very morning following her meeting with Miguel. Mariana's suitcase was already prepared. Where are you going? Diego inquired, his voice heavy with defeat. To a place where I can be a grandmother without having to apologize for my very existence. They walked towards the door. In the hallway, the other grandchildren awaited, their faces etched with confusion and sorrow, not fully grasping the situation, but sensing that something significant had been irrevocably broken. She knelt before them. I love you all dearly, she conveyed, and this is not your fault. Someday, when you are older, you will understand why Grandma had to do this. Thomas, the young 8-year-old, embraced her tightly. We won't build sandcastles anymore. Someday we will construct the most magnificent sandcastles in the world, she promised him, when your parents remember how to cherish the people they love. Mariana and she proceeded towards the elevator. As the doors slid shut, she could see her family in the hallway. Her sons defeated, her daughters-in-law seething, her grandchildren bewildered. In the lobby, Miguel awaited with their taxi. Mrs. Williams, he said as the driver loaded their luggage. It has been an honor to have met you. What you accomplished today required immense courage. It was not courage, Miguel, she replied. It was survival. As the taxi departed from the hotel, she glanced out the rear window. She could see her family standing at the entrance, their suitcases beside them, undoubtedly in the process of contacting other hotels, seeking a place to stay. Do you have any regrets, Grandma? Mariana inquired. She pondered the question as the scenery drifted by. Her thoughts turned to 40 years of motherhood, to sacrifices that had gone unacknowledged, to the love she had freely given without expectation, yet which in the end had sought at least a modicum of respect. No, she finally responded. I regret only that it took me so long to value myself. The taxi was en route to a quaint boutique hotel on the coast, a reservation she had secured that morning, a sanctuary where a grandmother and her granddaughter could build sandcastles, relish quiet dinners, and rediscover the essence of a genuine family. For the first time in years, she felt an overwhelming sense of liberation, and for the first time in her life, she had prioritized her own well-being. It was a terrifying yet exhilarating sensation, but overwhelmingly it felt profoundly correct.